Well, good afternoon, everyone. I have the time as being 2:30, so we're going to get going on this webinar. We're going to follow the same meeting format that we had at the last Thursday. So I will be using the same PowerPoint, with one exception. There's some new information that's come up since we last had any kind of discussion, and so I will make sure that that's also reflected in the conversation today. So let me show you where you can find the PowerPoint if you'd like, as well as any handout. So I'm going to get going here by actually taking you to another spot on the screen. So let's see, we'll go to our website. So this is the Office of Assessment Administration website. You may or may not be familiar with it. There are a couple different ways of getting to the information that you can use today. The first would be, and the way I typically go, but that doesn't mean anything, is to follow the elementary or middle school staff information. You'll notice that on this page, again, you'll have the calendars where you can actually go and set add things to your calendar if you so choose. What I'm interested in right now is the communications piece. So if you click on that, and then you will find the November meeting webpage. So here you will have the agenda for the meeting, as well as the PowerPoint for this meeting. Finally, this is also where the recorded webinar will be housed here. I'm going to continue to try new things, including a transcript, so that you will just be able to read about the everything that I'm saying instead of having to listen to me for the whole time. So this is where you can find the PowerPoint, the agenda, and sooner or later, probably sooner, you'll find the webinar itself. So let's get going. I'm going to take us to the PowerPoint itself, and we'll move on from there. All right. So again, one of the important things to remember is that we're here to work together. Obviously, you've signed in, so you don't have to worry about that. And as we get closer and closer to the implementation of Access, it's so important that we do share information with each other and ask the questions, because if you have a question, it is likely that someone else has a question. Sarah Wallner is here with me. She's going to be monitoring the chat, so that if you have questions, just type them in the chat box, and we will get to those at an appropriate time. If not during the presentation, then shortly thereafter. So we're going to continue the agenda today. The big component is going to be Access for ELs. And the latest and greatest for that, as we prepare for that, is coming up in several weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks at the most. We'll spend just a few moments talking about the Wisconsin Forward, as there's not a whole lot that is out there yet, but I do have a timeline on when that information is going to be available. We'll again take a look very briefly at where to find materials that you may need, and address any lingering questions. So as we had discussed in the past, there are kind of this access process is broken into 3 different chunks. We've already completed the now into November 1st, which is preparation work. We're now in the second window, November 1st through December 12th. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about what the preparation is going to be, as well as what you can do during the window, which is December 12th through the 3rd of February. Now, the big thing is completing the professional development. And we're going to take a look at it in a few moments and where you have to do that, if you have not had a chance to do that. Also, the completion of the PD produces well, first of all, you take a quiz, and then if you pass that, then you are able to get a certificate. Different buildings might want to handle this differently, so you will not necessarily have to hand this to your building principal. However, please do not send them to me. I have a different way through the software to be able to monitor who has completed the professional development and who is not. So no need to send me the certificates. Also, just some things to think about. Again, we're only using Chromebooks, and the listening and reading components are going to be the first that need to be done. I'm going to click out of that for a few minutes. We're then going to go to, let me go back to the web, and we're going to open up a new window. So we're going to go to WIDA.us. This will provide you with what should be familiar. Let me see if I can actually log in. This is one of those that I tend to forget my password and login for. No, we'll try it again. No, we'll try it one more time. And that's not taking me there either. Yeah, Sarah's going to actually log in, and so we'll be able to take a look at that.
All right. See, it's a tricky website. Sorry, guys. Yay.
Okay, so yes, we do make mistakes. We do forget our passwords, etc. All right, so here is the portal that you would get when you log into WIDA.us, and this is for the professional development when you remember your password and login. So you'll see that there are, in the second line of icons, you'll see an online grades 1 through 12. This is what the vast majority of all staff are going to be taking a look at. If you are going to be involved in doing the alternate access, the alternate access, grades 1 through 12 is here. Also the kindergarten, which is of course paper-based, and that has not changed from anything that's in the past. So let's take a look at the online grades 1 through 12 assessment, professional development, excuse me. When you click on that, you'll get a green menu bar going across the top. And this is going to be for preparing, this will have all the different professional development opportunities that you have. These are all short videos. And either you or someone else who's working on access in your building received an email describing which ones of these you will need to do in order to actually provide the access administration. Not every person needs to take the professional development on ordering materials or managing test materials, etc. Now, probably the most common one is going to be administering the test, and you'll end up taking this. When you have gone through all these different components, these different areas, you'll notice that at the far right are the quizzes. So if you click on that, you'll see that you have the appropriate quiz for each of the different components. We just finished, in theory, the online administration portion of the professional development, and therefore you would take this particular quiz. You would then have the training certificate available. You can also go back, start over, and you can take a look at this. You'll notice Sarah is a proud owner of a training certificate as well. So again, the professional development is available. If you do not have a login, if you are unable to or have forgotten your login or never have gotten one because you're new to this, please let us know and we'll get you set up. If you have used WIDA.us in the past, you will certainly have your same account login that you had in the past, if you can remember it. Okay, I am going to continue moving on. So I'm going to log out, and we're going to flip back to the PowerPoint.
And before you go on, Tim, I'm just going to share a couple questions that we've had in the chat. The first question that we had was, do we as coordinators have access to see who in our building has done the training other than asking staff for their certificates? And the answer to that is no. Tim's the only person that has this type of access, but that's why it's a really easy thing to print. You could ask them to give them to you or to your building principal if you'd like to keep track of who's completed the training, but there's no easy way to log in and see that completion rate.
If you do have questions about that, or if you're asked by your building principal, etc., you can always ask me, and we'll take care of that for you.
Another question comes from Donna. She's wondering, case managers given the alternate need to do this, correct? There is a different alternate access module on the same WIDA site. For whoever is going to be administering the alternate access, that person would need to be certified. One difference is that although the online administration, everyone needs to retake that because they've changed the training program, and our state is asking each of us to retake the training. For alternate, if a user has been trained in the past for alternate and has that training certificate, this also goes for kindergarten. They do not need to retake the module this year. That certificate is still good. Nothing has changed with kindergarten. We would encourage a quick refresher. You can view any of those videos or view the information as a reminder of what happens with alternate and with kindergarten, but the modules themselves and the quiz do not need to be retaken for those users.
Okay.
And I think the last, Emily, you had a question about map testing and access creating any issues with the server or computers. I'm pretty sure Tim's going to get to that a little later in the agenda, so if you have any lingering questions after that, let us know.
We can certainly touch base on that right now, since it is an issue that kind of sticks in the back of everybody's mind. The map testing and the access testing, even though they are in the same window, so they both begin on December 12th, as long as you are not testing large groups of students right next to each other, in other words, using Chromebooks that will pull from the access points. If you have 30 in one classroom and 30 students in another classroom right next door, and you're all trying to start the map test or map and access, whichever it should be, they tend to get, there's no physical boundary for the wireless access point. And so you could end up with 40 computers going to one and 20 going to another, and they don't balance themselves automatically. So the best thing you can do, just to kind of minimize that, is first of all, put space between where you're actually testing, if at all possible. So it might be a classroom that's testing, followed by a classroom that is not. The next one over might be another classroom that's testing. Please keep in mind that, let me see, these little devices, which most students, probably over the age of 7, are carrying around these days, as well as all staff members, are also pulling from the wireless access point. And so if you've got a room full of students, especially in middle school, who are testing, and the room next door, you're not only just using the 30 Chromebooks or the 25 Chromebooks in each place, you're also fighting for wireless space from cell phones. So please keep those things in mind. You can have them turn it to, I get it, giving up your cell phone is almost like removing your arm and handing it to somebody. However, you can have students physically turn them off. You can have them set it to airplane mode. You can do a number of things that needs to work well for you and for your classrooms. So, all right, let's continue taking a look at the PowerPoint. Okay, so we are again in the same window of the November 12th, or November 1st through December 12th. We've spoken about this before, just a reminder that it would not hurt to take a look at the sample questions if you have brand new students or staff had never seen it before. There are sample questions at the beginning of each of the components, each of the phases, the domains. So it's not critical that every student take a look at this. Also, again, a reminder that the online writing is the expectation for all students in grades 4 through 12. Yet we know that there are students who are coming to us who have only recently ever seen a keyboard, let alone are able to type on one, who struggle with writing with a keyboard. I understand that. So we're going to allow you to request as many writing books that you need. Again, this is only for grades 4 through 12. Grades 1, 2, and 3 are automatically given writing books, physical pencil paper writing books, so that will be more developmentally appropriate. All right, so let's take a look at some of the issues surrounding the request for writing books. Here's something that's new that I want you to be aware of. This is new since our meeting last Thursday. When you're thinking about writing and grouping kids together and creating a schedule, this is a change from last year. The change is that students, you can test the writing group, the writing domain. It does not matter anymore which tier the students are in. They could be in tier A, they could be in tier BC, they could be a mix in the group, but I want you to know that students can be in either tier or they can be in any grade cluster. So you don't have to worry about separating students, and typically the way our schools are set up, you would not do that anyways. The 4 5s would be together. However, I just want to say that while this is a nice thing for scheduling, please keep in mind that Tier A writing is 30 minutes long. Tier BC is 45 minutes long. And so you have, if you mix the groups, the students together, please have some plan in place for what happens when you get a bunch of students who are finished early. Minimize the distractions that those who are continuing to write have going about them. So again, just this is an update. I'll refine this and send this out to everybody, but you can group students regardless of the tier or the grade cluster together. All right, let's go back to the writing, the criteria for using the writing book. Again, students who are inexperienced, who are unfamiliar or discomfortable, or not comfortable with keyboarding, grades 4 through 12, they will be following a prompt on the screen. So we'll talk about what that means in just a moment. They will look at the screen. There will be a prompt. They will write in their response booklet a response to that particular prompt. They are expected, just because they're doing something pencil and paper for the writing component, they are expected, all students are expected to complete the other test domains online. So let's take a look at what are the continued more specifics. When you send a list to me for, you say, here are the students that we believe should be using the pencil and paper writing domain booklet, we are required to put them in a separate testing session that will say writing HW, handwritten writing responses. What that will do will be to allow them to log in. It will give them a specific login which will take them to the prompts, but it will not expect on-screen responses. If we do not change this session to the handwriting HW, you will log in, just your ticket will show you, go to the writing prompt, it'll log you in, you'll have the prompt on the screen, and it will wait for something from a keyboard. So, to avoid any confusion, you don't have to worry about setting up the sessions. Send the names to me, I will approve them. and then we will make sure that they are placed in the new sessions that are appropriate for the handwriting HW. If you know ahead of time, like as in now, this would be great. Let us know what students you believe should have the written booklet response. However, once we get going in during the test, sometimes I understand that you go, oh, wait a minute, we forgot. What are we going to do? This student should have a test booklet to write in. Please allow us 3 days to get this change happen in the tickets. We also will have to order the booklet, and the response time on that is very quick, usually 2 days. So what will happen when you tell us, first thing, we'll be placing an order for that material. Then we'll be changing the session that the student is in, and we'll get you a new ticket or tell you that you need to print a ticket once that's all set.
One more thing about the writing booklets. As Tim mentioned, since they're not auto shipping writing booklets for grades 4 through 12 last year like they did, like Tim said, we have to order them. However, we will, I think we're going to plan to have an overage here at Doyle, but we won't know what tier the student's in until they take reading and listening on your end. So the last step would be, once you know what tier booklet you need, to email us, because we won't be able to ship the book until we know specifically which book they need.
One last thing about materials in general. I believe they're going to be sent to us in those bright yellow boxes that say WIDA on the outside, or DRC on the outside. Please keep in mind that all materials are associated with your building. They are barcoded, and they're all in the DRC system as being shipped to you, regardless of whether they come to us first, and we make sure you get your materials. That means when you have any materials that arrive for access, keep track of them, because they keep track of them. The DRC does. We need to have things back to us, so please don't make copies. If you need more, let us know, and they ship pretty quickly. I have had the joy of getting an email later in the year saying, so-and-so school has the following materials still missing from WIDA access testing. And then I need to follow up with you need to follow up with a staff member. So let's avoid that and make sure that you get some physical material, send it back to us in those nice bright yellow boxes that you were saving for the holidays anyway. All right. Technology update. Again, Chromebooks only. You will need to have the headsets for speaking. The icon that's listed here is what should be on your Chromebooks. You'll also need headphones for the other domains. You certainly may use the headsets for all the domains. You just can move the microphone out of the way.
As long as you're talking about technology, Tim, we have a follow-up question about your connectivity
Sure.
stuff from before. So I want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. So we have someone asking, do middle schools, elementary schools who are connected have to worry about server space at the same time, or are our servers completely different? LMCs are right next to each other at our school.
Great question, because last year one of the things that was true was that every single school had its own TSM server, except for those schools that were joined middle school and elementary. We learned pretty quickly that needed to change, and every school ultimately had its own server. We've changed things. One of the upgrades to the software by the vendor is that we now have centrally located servers, and those servers are pretty robust, and given the state of our network, we are pretty confident that we should be able to handle all the assessments through that particular setup. We're monitoring that as soon as day one of testing starts. We'll be monitoring the technology and watching for any concerns, areas of concerns, and we'll continue to do that. Let me explain just briefly how the speaking component has changed since last year. You'll recall that we had a maximum of 6 students speaking at any one time on paper, but in reality, it was something more along the lines of 2 or 3 or 4. The test vendor has created a new process for technically handling the speaking component. When you log into the speaking component, instead of logging into the local server, the students will be logging directly into the vendor servers for the speaking component only. The software will break this down, their voice, into very small components, send that directly to the vendor, and they will reassemble it, and that will be the students' answers. There is a fallback, so in case for some reason that does not work, the same process that we had for last year, the students would log in and be connected to the local server. That still remains, but that is not the primary choice of the vendor, nor of WIDA, nor us. We would want to make sure that we can get as many students speaking as possible. The rule again was 6. Currently, what I'm being told is that is not a technology rule. It's not a maximum. It is a test administrator maximum. So if you have 6 students in a room, a couple things going on. Number one, the amount of background noise that is going on, so that when the students are speaking, there's a limit to the amount of noise that is picked up by their microphones. So 6 is what the vendor says is the maximum, as well as having someone monitor how the students are doing or answering questions and getting to them in a timely fashion. 6 is the maximum. So you could have potentially simultaneously in different rooms, you could have one person administering to 6 students, in another room, another person administering to 6 students, and it should be working. We are, as a state, the first out of the block again this year. As a district, we're not first. So we're going to kind of monitor. I'm going to be monitoring the state level, what's going on. We will be starting the state window week 2. So we'll have many districts actually ahead of us. I'll be watching them and connecting with those districts to see what experience they have as far as the speaking. So again, we have listening and reading first, speaking and writing second. So I hope that makes some sense. Again, I'll be sharing this information out to you in a written form so that you can maybe take some time and digest it as well. Yes.
There's a question about, is it either, this is a good reminder for everyone, is it either listening or reading first, or does one or the other have to be first? And it can be either or. It's just that the 2 domains have to be completed before the speaking and writing tiers will generate. So that's a good reminder for everybody.
As far as again, I understand it does not matter which one comes first, the listening or the reading, but Sarah is correct in saying that there will be nothing generated for the speaking and writing components, those tickets, until they have completed the first 2. Now, how fast will that generation take place? Last year it was, we were told about 5 hours after they complete the listening reading combination that it would then have something in place for speaking or writing. What I'm told now is that it would be about an hour. So in theory, you could finish up, you could do listening on one day, reading on the next day, and it would be ready. If you did reading in the morning, it would be ready in the afternoon after lunch for the student to begin the speaking or the writing. Finally, just a reminder that once you start a domain, you need to complete it that day. So if you are planning to do more than one domain in a day, make sure you give yourself enough time, especially if you're going to be jumping between the first 2 and the second 2. All right, let's continue. So moving on into the test window itself, the listening and reading first, You will be getting tickets printed for those sessions, in fact, all of the sessions, and I'll show you what those tickets will look like. An update is there will be 4 to a page. The tickets will be sent to you. They will be in sessions that will be by grade cluster. And within that, tickets will be in alphabetical order by grade. So you would have a cluster 4 or 5 for listening. You would get a group like that. 4th grade would come first, alphabetical by last name, and then 5th grade would come next, alphabetical by last name. Unfortunately, that's the best we can do. We don't have the ability to say, can we please alphabetize these by classroom, etc. So they will be sent to you by the first week in December. We are gearing up to create these, and you will have them in hand by that first week in December, if not sooner. It's our hope we get them to you sooner, but we can't make any promises about that. Again, the first 2 determine the second 2 domains. We've already talked about the small groups, what the expected or hoped for solution, the backup solution, the need to complete the subtest that you start. Here's new information. Every year we continue to get new students throughout the access testing window. If you get students after January 27th, we do not, as a district, we will not be expecting you to do access testing for those particular students. So right at the end of January is kind of going to be the cutoff point. Again, still do the WAPT, that whole process to determine whether or not they're English language learners, but you will not have to do access, even though the state window closes after the district window. So that is going to be our district cutoff point, and we're comfortable with that at this moment. Here is an example of pretty much a half a sheet of paper that you would see the sample. These are sample tickets. You'll notice that it says which particular test domain that it is that we're testing across the top. This happens to be speaking for grades 6 through 8. It'll be the student's first and last name, their birth date. Here is an important point. You'll notice that this particular ticket has an accommodation on it. We'll talk about what the 3 accommodations are in a moment. There are only 3 that you will see. Again, reiterating the domain, what grade that the student is in, their district ID, and then it will have their username and password. And again, the username may be the same for all 4 of the domains, but the password will be specific for each of the tests. So unfortunately, you're going to have to cut these apart and keep them clipped together however you decide you're going to group students as they test. But this is the best that we can do at this moment with these tickets.
The good news is that we are hopefully going to be able to print them with 4 different colors for the 4 different domains. So it's hopefully easier for you to be able to sort them and keep track of what you got. That's our plan currently.
Yes, so any specific requests for colors, we'll be happy to take them, but we're only going to use what paper we have. So now, what the accommodations are, here are the codes that you would see on the tickets. You saw on that first ticket, ES, which is Extended Speaking Response Time. Remember that speaking is the only one of the 4 domains that is timed on this. It's approximately it's 30 minutes that students get to for the speaking component. That's plenty of time. However, if a student needs extended time, it should have been included on within their IEP, and so you would find this accommodation on the ticket. What you will also find, or you may also find on different tickets, on different student tickets, you will find the letters MC, which is manual control. So it will not appear on reading tickets. So it would appear on the listening, so they would be able to manually control that audio item. Also the speaking and the writing component it could potentially appear on. RA is to repeat the audio. That again will not be on the reading tickets, so that is not an appropriate accommodation for reading. These are the 3 accommodations that will appear. Other ones are simply either not appropriate and will invalidate the test, or those are supports that are offered to all students. So here are the 3. You will be able to, I'm sure you're going to be able to see those and take a look at those when you get your student tickets.
One more note on that,
yes,
if you don't mind. So, so as Tim mentioned, these are the 3 that appear on tickets because these are the 3 that actually the system would provide the extra ability to do these things. But there are things that might appear on an IEP that you've seen when you were reviewing your accommodations, like extend sessions over multiple days, or there are various other accommodations that are loaded into the system, but they don't appear on the ticket because they're more or less locally provided. Like you would be the person that would make sure that they would be testing over multiple days, and that wouldn't be something that the system would be doing. So they're still in there, they're just in the background, and these are the only 3 that you would expect to see on a ticket.
Because these are the 3 that actually require the computer to do something different. Okay, so we're going to cut out of this for a few minutes. I'm going to take you to the WIDA AMS, and we're going to log into, and I do know my password for WIDA AMS, so let's see. I got to get there first. All right. So WIDA AMS.
While Tim's logging in to this, I'll mention that I believe that anyone who is designated as an access coordinator has access to WIDA AMS. If you had previous access from last year, you would have newly instated access for this year, and all of those permissions have been updated. If you feel that you don't have an account, feel free to send me an email, Sarah Wollner, and I can get you reset within the system, or if in the case that you don't have an account, I can get you set up. But I believe that everyone should have access to this right now.
Okay, I'm not sure this is sharing with everyone. All right, I got to figure out how to do this, so please bear with me. I'm going to stop sharing. We're going to share again, and okay, I think now we're all on the same page. So WIDA AMS, it is a joint project between WIDA and DRC. Couple things about this page. I've already logged in. At the bottom of the page are public resources. So if you would like to take a look at the test demo or share with any students, you can click on this. I'm going to open that real quickly. Hopefully it will be there. You can see the screener. We're not involved with that. Take the Access for ELs, which would be the test demo. Let's flip back. You can also take a look at sample items. So these are you're certainly welcome to share these with parents, with students, anyone who wishes to see what the Access for ELs assessment looks like. We'll also be putting this updated on our website so that you will have access to that. Sorry, no pun intended. All right, we're going to go to all applications. I want 3 things that we're going to take a look at today, 2 of them under student management, 1 under test management. And you should have access to at least these 2, if not others. So I'm going to take a look at the test management. And by the way, we will have a how-to document that we'll share with you and screenshots in case that this is going too fast. You go, wait a minute, I still haven't logged in. So I just want to have you sit back and take a look at this. So the test management component of the application, if you were to click on the manage test sessions, here is going to be where you can take a look and see what's going on in your building. The administration that we are going to be using, you have to select WI or Wisconsin Access for ELs 2.0 2016-17 as the test. Why is the other one still there? Because the data is still there. You're still able to go back and take a look at last year's reports from where students were at. You'll notice that once I do this for the administration, it gives me the district. I'm going to pick on our friends at Chavez today. And I'm also then going to say, we're going to show the different sessions that we have available. So you'll notice that we have the test sessions. You'll have generic third grade, speaking, listening, and reading. You'll notice there is not a writing here, so that you end up, because they have the pencil and paper booklet. So let's take a look at listening for grade 4. Over to the right, I've got this on the slide on the PowerPoint. There are a couple things that you can look at. First of all, you can view who is in the session. You can take a look at the details of the session, and we're going to copy the session. I'll tell you what, please don't mess with any of this, even if you have the ability to, simply because it requires reprinting of tickets. So if you want to reprint tickets on your own, please go ahead. However, I think we will have things set up once we have the handwriting component of the writing domain taken care of. Things that you will want to know about are the next one: edit and print ticket status. So you'll be able to print the tickets for the students who are all in this particular session. So you'll be able to see who's there and print all of that. The next item over is a print all. Guess what? Doesn't work. So just wish for that in your dreams. However, another one that you are going to be very interested in is viewing and printing the tier placement. So when students have finished listening and reading, you'll want to know how to schedule which students into which components. Again, that's not so much of a big deal while we're able to mix the writing component, but if you have a lot of students who are tier A, you might want to know that so you can put them into specific settings. So you'll be able to print your tier placement report at this area, in this particular area. So that, again, is under the test sessions portion of the AMS. So,
Tim, while you're still on this tab, just a couple quick things. One is, Helen had a great question. She's logged in right now, and when she clicks on the administration field where you choose the year, nothing happens. But that is because, so one thing that we forgot to mention is that right now we're not in the test setup window yet. Tim and I can see these things, but it's very likely that you will not be able to do anything in AMS until the 21st, which is next Monday. That's when the state's access test setup window opens and all of these fields will become available to you. If after the 21st you're still having any issues with AMS, you're not seeing something you should be seeing, or you can't access something specific, please don't hesitate to email us. We'll check into your permissions and make sure. I did check everyone this year. I believe everyone should be set up, but it's very possible that something slipped through the cracks. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And then one other thing, Tim, when you were talking about the different session detail, we went through all of those different icons, and there's that little printer icon.
yes.
That one does work. It's the print all students at the top of the page, which maybe you can highlight. That's the
Yes.
one that does nothing. You can't
My
print,
bad.
it's okay, but you can't print all tickets for a school, unfortunately. We wish we could. But you can print them by session. And when you go to that screen, it will give you the option to print all tickets in a session, or it'll give you the option to choose an individual student and print tickets. And this was one of those how-to docs that Tim and I will make sure are created within the next couple weeks before the window opens, and are available to you so that you can see all the steps to how to print individual tickets.
So I got carried away. I apologize. The print all tickets here is my wishful dream that we could click that and print all the tickets for the district. It won't happen. However, you will be able to take a look at the print all tickets for each of the sessions. And again, as Sarah said, we'll send out specific hard copy directions for everyone shortly. All right, so that's one. We're going to take a look at two others. We're going to look at student management. I want to show you student test progress because this is always a question that people raise. How do I know where people are at? Who is finished, who is not? So again, using our friends at Chavez, we're going to pick on 4th grade again, and we're going to find all students. You'll notice that what comes up is a series in blue of each and every single 4th grade student at Chavez and their current setting, how far they are. So if I click on Caden, for instance, open their list of which assessments you have, you'll notice the domains. It will also tell me that they have not started, which is good. They should not have started by now. But this will update every day so that you can go back and say, oh, just want to check to see if Caden has completed everything. And it will tell you whether or not they have completed the test session. Now that's just fine if you have a small number of students, but another thing that you can do is you can expand all, so you can see each and every single student just by quick glancing at them. I'm going to collapse those. You can also, at the bottom of the page, you can export this to Excel. So I'm going to click on this, and it will export this file. Okay, it's not going to show you this, so you will not be able to see, but it puts it in a nice Excel file. Let me go back, and you will be able to sort by who is finished and who is not. So that's something nice that we wanted to have, make sure everybody knew was available. And that is something that every single coordinator should be able to take a look at and use as often as you wish. Lastly, I want to touch base on the Manage Students tab. And again, we're going to select 4th graders at Chavez and find the students. You will notice that we're going to click on Caden. There's an icon to view edit over on the right, and up will come a screen that shows the information about Caden. There we go. You'll notice that it's got the detail, demographics for this particular student. If you are interested in checking the accommodations, you will be able to see here are the accommodations that are listed, and as Sarah had mentioned before, if it's in the IEP, it's in the software, but it doesn't necessarily change what happens with the computer. You'll notice that there's an additional writing FT. That's a field test that is open right now that should go away when we are ready to test. You will not be doing that. I just want you to be aware of reasons why students would not test. The expectation is that all ELL students will complete the testing of access. Here are the reasons where they would not complete. First one is absence. Every year we have a student who, family for the holidays, takes off for 12 weeks and they're gone. So they're absent. If their test needs to be invalidated for whatever reason, we will share those as we get closer and closer. Declined, you'll notice that there is not an opt-out option. There's not a place here to say, no, the parents opted the student out. There is no opt-out for the access. We will honor parents' requests. It will go in as declined to test. And finally, the last reason that student did not test is deferred special education 504. That we will take care of all of these. You will not be expected to fill any of this in. I just want you to be aware that this exists. So I'm going to save this information and we'll go back to the PowerPoint and just take a moment. Let me catch my breath and see if there are any questions at the moment. Okay, seeing none, we will then continue with the PowerPoint. So we've gone through the test sessions, reporting, monitoring progress.
We have a question.
A question, yes.
Okay. When will the yellow boxes arrive? That's a great question. So the materials have all been ordered by at the district level, so there's no action required on your end for that. Materials will arrive to us at Flom Road on November 30th. It's usually late in the afternoon on November 30th. We then will need to process them all, make sure we have everything, and we will get them turned around to you as quickly as possible. So I would say the first week of December, you will receive them. We'll get them out to you as quickly as we can. I would say you'll see them no later than like the 7th of December. The window opens on the 12th. I would say the 7th, but really in reality, it'll probably be a little closer to, you know, that the 2nd or the 4th, which is the following Monday.
Okay. So yes, you can expect them as quickly as possible. Another thing that we're going to be doing this year again is we're going to create a collaboration document. This worked well for the Badger exam. It worked well for the Forward exam. So we'll be sending a Google Doc out to sharing this with everyone. And what the purpose of this is just who you are, what time it is, what school you're at, what the topic is. And if you have a question, if you have a concern, if you found a neat little trick, if there's something that you're just wondering about, you're probably not alone. And so we'll be monitoring, Sarah and I will be monitoring this at all times during the testing window. One or both of us will likely be answering if there are specific questions, but then this is also a record for anyone else who would like to take a look at it and kind of follow up on what's available.
It's also a great place to put in personal experiences if you feel like you found something that worked really well for your school, or you're wondering specifically if other schools, how they're dealing with things. This is a great place to pose those questions and see what others are doing, and it's been a really good resource as we get into it, people sharing their tips.
Okay, that's it for access. I know that you probably want more, but that's all I'm going to be able to provide you right now. So we're almost done. We're going to just quickly go over and review the fact that the Wisconsin Forward exam is coming. There will be online PD available beginning for Sarah and I in January. So really nothing is going to be coming out until middle of January. We do know that the embedded tools are the same. So if you have remembrances of text-to-speech and read aloud and those conflicting issues, those haven't changed. So they will still be here. However, our understanding of them is better than last year. The other thing is that there is an increased stability in the platform. I'm working with DPI to determine whether or not the math calculator, non-calculator sections are going to be changed so that we have fewer students getting locked out, especially true at middle school. Other than that, that's the only update that I have about the Forward. Sarah, any questions that we got?
Nope.
Okay. So again, I just want to point out that we keep our web pages up to date. There are access pages, there are map pages, and there are Forward test pages. I do realize that the window for map winter opens the exact same day that access testing opens, and that's not necessarily something that makes everybody happy. I understand that. Keep in mind that the winter map assessment is simply the reading is required. Mathematics is not required. It is an optional based on the building, but that is not something that gets reported and put into the data dashboard, etc. So with that, if you have any questions, we'll kind of keep things open for a little bit. I'm going to finish this up and see if there's any questions out there. If not, please keep in mind that you can connect with us via phone. If you have some questions that you would like a couple people to see, we can do a Zoom meeting. Through Zoom, I can also take over. I know it's scary. I can take over your screen, so I can point things out that's on your screen as well. So if there are any questions, please let us know. Otherwise, I thank everyone for your time, and this will be recorded and posted on our website. So thanks so much, and I'll stop the recording now, and we'll hang out here for a little bit. Bye now.